So, I still kind of really liked the freestyle thing, but knew that, that understood that it couldn't really work. And I'd hang out with the guys and stuff. Wasn't really part of their crew, but at the third Radiotron that I went to, I was doing really good. My combos were bigger. I felt like I was stronger than ever and doing really well, but didn't really continue with another crew after that.
Okay.
And then of course, Manny continued dancing and progressing. I think a lot of people, still see him on YouTube. Ended up joining Renegades, but before that he was with X-Men. He also did some stuff where he was trying to do it professionally. I think he was in some music videos and had kind of taken dancing a little further. And so, I think that he did a really good job with that. And so he continued, and I continued too. And then, I ended up being a missionary for a couple of years, a little shortly after that, a couple of years later. And never really stopped, but didn't really actively pursue anything with a crew or anything like that.
Right. So for you, being involved with breaking, like who did you look up to? Who inspired you as, like, say, like an individual or like a crew? Like, was there anybody that you looked up to? Like, you can say, oh yeah, I looked up to the New York City Breakers, or
definitely looked up to the New York City Breakers and the Rocksteady crew. Looked up to Air Force crew and a lot of the original poppers. I mean, everything from the guys, the guys that invented the moves to the guys that were popularized in the movies, and it's what really inspired us. I actually started breakdancing in 1984.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was 8 years old at the time. I know that means I'm an old man now, but I was 8 years old at the time, and those were the days of cardboard, and it was when we lived in Dallas, Texas. And, doing a little six-step on the ground, doing a little backspin, talent shows at school, and stuff like that. And then it kind of, it kind of faded out. I didn't see it again.
Was this here in Bakersfield?
No, this was in Texas.
Oh, Texas.
This was in Dallas, Texas. Well, I'm in Bakersfield. There's something at the time called, I was about a freshman, sophomore in high school. Something called house music came out, and house dancing, and it kind of resembled b-boying a little bit. Kind of resembled what I remember when I was a little kid about breakdancing, and then I caught wind of some guys in Delano that were kind of that were dancing, but it was more like the original. Had the original elements of breakdancing in it. And I remembered it, and I just fell in love with it immediately. I went home and started practicing in my kitchen, little hand spins and back spins, and trying to learn, scraping up my elbows, trying to learn how to do a windmill, and that was it. From then on, it was that was my life. I was in sports in high school. I did different things, but as soon as I started dancing, that was it for me. Another thing about our crew is we were so serious about it, we had rules. No, we didn't want anybody in the crew drinking, smoking weed. You had to go to practice. We'd practice 2, 3, 4 hours a day. That's all we were doing on the weekend. So for us, it was like a competitive sport.
Right.
And it was something. We were healthy. We were in shape. It was something that we took really seriously. We weren't messing around back then. And so we learned a lot of things that have allowed us to be successful businessmen to this day, and to be able to build a company, and a lot of those things are things that we learned, in hip hop. So.
Right. And yourself, like, were you inspired by anybody or a group?
Yeah, that changed and evolved over time. And for me, it all really began in the '90s, and during that second period that Jared was talking about, after we were all in Bakersfield, and it evolved because there were different people around me that I would look at, and there was more that I was learning as time went on. So at the beginning, when we were house dancing, there was a group in town called Bum Squad, and I thought a couple of their guys were really cool because they would mix that house dancing with some of the
Diamond Society as well. That was one of the original Bakersfield crews. Again, house dancing, but still with some of the elements.
Like, quasi
They were mixing the rubber bands and the apple jacks.
Yeah, all that stuff. And
double kicks and donkey kicks.
Donkey kicks.
Yeah, all that stuff was mixed in.
The big pants shredded at the bottom.
But even some of those guys were even doing windmills, and that was kind of as big as it got at that time, and what, as far as things that resembled breakdancing. And after that, when we started learning more about b-boying or seeing it more, we fell in love with it, started going more that direction. There were crews in Delano that we were looking up to, in San Jose.
BIS.
Yeah, BIS is one of those groups.
Did you guys hear about Style Elements at the time?
Not at that time.
Okay.
No.
As far as I'm concerned, at that time, there was no such thing as Style Elements.
Okay.
They may have, I don't know. I know there are different generations and things like
Style
that.
Elements came out in 95.
Okay, so yeah, this was before
We're
that
talking
time.
like 93.
Oh, 93.
Yeah, 93, even tail end of 92. But then, 94, late 93, 94, we started catching wind of BIS and then, some crews that were in San Jose, and then we started watching videos, and then we started looking up to crews that weren't necessarily near us, but we would see video of, like Air Force crew and some others.
Back in the day.
Yeah, the Battle Squad.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, that kind of changed and evolved for me a little bit. But Style Elements came later. I remember watching them and thinking that they were pretty good, but it all kind of changed. At that time to where I was really comfortable with what I was doing.
Right.
I looked at those guys as my peers, so like I said, it kind of evolved.
Okay. That's cool. I have a question. Like, remember when you did the flare on the back? Like, where did you get the idea to do that? Because I've never even seen that before.
And we would get our inspiration from a bunch of things, from acrobats, from gymnasts, things that we'd watch on TV, so we just decided to try it one day. And it was very difficult on the back of one person, so I think what we did is we lined up Jared and Manny both on their hands and knees, and I did it that way, and it was kind of hit or miss, usually just one, but sometimes I could do like 3 or 4, and I think at that second Radiotron I did a few of them, and I was you can see in the video I was excited after. Yeah, I did that.
He was about this little.
Yeah.
Like 13 years old or something.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So how do you guys feel about the scene as far as today? Because you guys seem like you guys basically been like seeing how everything evolved the last 20 years. What you're seeing right now, evolving into like 2014. How do you feel about the b-boy?
What I see in the scene is people have definitely taken it to the next level. They built upon what we were doing back in the day, and just making it bigger and better here in the United States and internationally. I mean, there are things that are remarkable that I've seen guys do these days. And I think it's something positive, and so I'm pleased with overall. I'm pleased with what I'm seeing now. I hope everybody remembers what the roots are, and that it's something that's extremely healthy. It's something that's positive, and to keep the positivity with it. I think it's good for the next generation coming up to know that having money is not that important, and having material things is not that important, and that you don't need to be drinking or doing drugs, smoking weed, or anything like that. You can be part of a movement and do something that you love doing, and something positive that can influence you for the rest of your life. And I hope everybody remembers that. That's kind of where it came from, and that's the root of it. And I think a lot of guys understand that. There might be some that don't, but that's the way I feel.
All right, it's gonna start all over right now. Just get ready.
That was like a 2